Hello people, I'm back once again with another episode of ELAVI Truth TV. This episode is about prison and parental alienation. Prison, parental alienation, and a mother who committed parental alienation. But first I'd like to start with an article written in the independent newspaper by a woman's correspondent called Maya Oppenheim, in which she states that men, abusive men, are using the so-called idea of parental alienation to gain access to children. Basically, that parental alienation is some kind of idea that abusive men have come up with in order to trick the system. The article goes on to say stuff like playing the parental alienation card, also using the term so-called parental alienation. Now, I made this video in order to show the devastation of parental alienation. Now, many people know my story and I've gone into great detail, so I'm not going to really speak about that here now today. But what I'm going to do is just go a little bit further into this article, because this article would give you the idea that men, because it is a man bashing article really, and the reason I say that is because of this fact. There's many factors involved, but this fact is that women do also suffer from parental alienation, and so do children. And the fact of the matter is this: there's a real agenda at the moment to not make this whole parental alienation thing a gender-based issue. And we do have certain men that think it's just women that alienate, and we do have some women who, having suffered from a male who alienates, who's the alienator, they think it's just men. But this article is extremely damaging to both camps and to the people that believe that both genders can be alienated, as I do, because I've experienced it. I've seen the devastation that some women have gone through. But this article, in its blind bashing of men as abusers who would use this parental alienation syndrome as a way of further abusing women that they have previously abused, what this article does, it also damages women's cause, because there are many women who are fighting for justice because they have been alienated as parents. So I find this quite damaging that this agenda is being pushed. And if this agenda that it speaks of a study that was supposed to have been done in Brunel University. Now, I don't know how this study came about, but what I would like to go into now is a little video clip of a father, and it isn't the family courts. This is what I'd like to stress here. It isn't the family courts, it's a criminal court, but the origins of this story will have originated in the family court. So let's go in to this little segment right here.
A jury of her peers heard the overwhelming evidence presented against Sandy to convict her on the 6 counts of deprivation of parental rights. Sandy no longer understands what it means to be a parent, and therefore I do not believe she understands what she took from me, or more importantly, our children. To this day, I still do not understand why Sandy thought complete annihilation of our family was a good plan. She needed to first destroy me, the father of her children. In order to do so, she used our children, not appreciating that she was destroying them in the process. Nico was forced by Sandy to write false claims about me on his Facebook, which embarrassed our son with all his friends and filled him with enormous guilt. He was torn between the desire of trust and belief in his mother and his need to tell and finally tell the truth. He has done what he can to make sure his words, the words he knows, He has done what he can to make sure the world knows that the words on his Facebook page were not his. They were not the truth. They were his mother's words. She used him to try to hurt me, destroy my reputation, destroy my relationship with my children. I thank God every day that Nico and all our children are finally able to recognize the truth from the nightmare Sandy created. While I was following the instruction of the family court to heal our family, Sandy was creating an environment of paranoia and fear in our children. Sandy went to great lengths to convince our children that the world that I was a monster. During this time, our children should have been focused on school, on their friends, having fun, and growing up. The time was spent being used by their mother to destroy their father. As to the long-term effect, what you did to our children, this will take them years, if not a lifetime, to comprehend the trauma and the pain you inflicted upon them. But sadly, our kids may be haunted for this the rest of their lives and will possibly never understand why their mother didn't just let them have the love and support of both their parents. You stole 2.5 years of their childhood from them. Time they'll never get back. Time will never get back.
If this article is to be believed, then the heartfelt rendition that this father has just put across in the courtroom is a plot, a game, and all he's doing is playing the parental alienation card. But I know that anybody that has a heart will be able to understand that this person isn't really speaking about some kind of plot that he's done in order to further abuse a woman. He's talking about the destruction that has been wrought on his family, on his children, and on himself. And I know that many fathers who have been alienated, and also mothers that have been alienated, can relate to this person not because he's a man, but because he's an alienated parent. Because he's a person that has had to suffer. And furthermore, the children have to suffer. Now, the article I referred to was talking about how children also were trying to escape from abusive men and being forced back into the company of abusive men. And it's a really destructive idea, because although there are abusive men out there, in my experience, the men that I've spoken to are not trying to in any way, yeah, they're suffering from what's been done by the mother of their children, but they're in no way trying to use their children to further abuse somebody. They're trying to gain a relationship with those children. In my case, I have come to a very, very beautiful place, I'd like to say. A place of forgiveness. Not because I still don't hurt about the things that the mother of my children has done, but because I want to live a productive life. And if I'm sat or living hating on somebody because they've stolen the most precious thing out of my life, which are my children, I'm not going to live a life. And when those children come back into my life, then my heart will be full of hate, which is not good. Now, the reason why I think this clip that I'm showing is really important is because you're now going to hear something that you will not hear in any family court. You're going to hear a judge speaking not only from her experience as a judge, but also speaking as her experience as a mother and as a woman. And speaking about the devastation that she has witnessed and heard in the testimony of this father. And the reason why I think this is so important is because the family court seems to be bereft of any kind of emotion. This father is able to speak of his emotion and the devastation that has taken place as a result of parental alienation. This doesn't happen in the family courts. Not in my experience, and not the experience that so many fathers and mothers are going through. Doesn't happen. Because as we know, these courts are not really courts of justice. They're extortion systems where, in my case, a man goes into them thinking that he's going to see his children, and as a result of what goes on, he ends up in prison. Now let's not go too deeply into that because I want to focus on the judge, so let's go in.
I invite you to stand for sentencing. Why don't you come up to the podium, please? During this morning's hearing, I was deeply affected by Mr. Rucky's victim impact statement. First, Mr. Rucky, in his eloquent and heartfelt tribute to family, the strength of family, and to his children, described his relationship with the 5 Rucky children, the 5 Rucky offspring, who I have learned are vibrant and unique individuals, each in their own right. He lovingly described his relationship with his children, and he described the impact of the events that led us to this day. Mr. Rucky described defendants' acts as the annihilation of the family. Truer words have never been spoken. The senselessness of these events have haunted each member of the Rucky family since April 19, 2013. The pain and the loss that each family member has endured is beyond comprehension. My heart aches for you. We do not live in isolation, and surely we are all reminded today of the ripple effect that one life has upon others. I was also touched by Mr. Rucky's words about a family that endures, a family that heals from trauma and pain. This is never an easy process, and it's often a process that bumps along, lurches along, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. A sentence will never heal the wounds that Mr. Rucky and the children have suffered. A sentence will not bring back precious time that was lost and experiences large and small that you all should have shared together. A sentence will not take away that pain. Ms. Grazzini Rucky, the jury's verdict was clear. You were found guilty of 6 counts of deprivation of custodial or parental rights. During the trial, you claimed, and you have always claimed, that you acted in the best interests of your daughters, that you acted as a loving mother. If so, it defies logic that you left your 3 other children in the custody of the father you claim was abusive. Your animosity for Mr. Rucky robbed you of good judgment, and it robbed your children of stable sibling relationships and the important connection to their father during formative teen years. Your animus towards Mr. Rucky spilled onto others, including the professionals whose paths crossed yours. There is a saying, my way or the highway. And on April 19, 2013, you literally took to the highway with your 2 daughters because you did not get your way in the family court proceeding. And those 2 children remained missing for 944 days. The family is the cornerstone of our society. I'm not a psychologist, a social worker, or an expert on child development. I am, however, a mother, a grandmother, and a judge. I believe without hesitation that our community, our children, your children, need and deserve the guidance and love that a father brings to their lives. So, as to the conditions of your probation. First, you will serve 250 days in the Dakota County Jail. You will receive credit for 133 days actually served. By my tally, you have 34 days to serve on the original term of confinement, and you will be taken into custody today to serve the balance of this confinement period. You will serve 15 days in jail during each year of your probationary term, and your 15-year jail sentence will begin on November 18 of each year, the day the girls were recovered, beginning in 2017. So you will surrender to the Dakota County Jail at 8 a.m. to serve 15 days on each of the following days.
What a wonderful world we would live in if every judge we encountered as alienated parents were focused on the annihilation of the family and saw it as a thing. Yeah? Not facilitating the annihilation of the family, not abusing their role as a judge and letting corrupt barristers annihilate the family. It's so powerful to hear this judge speak because in my experience, and I'm going to be in the court in the coming weeks with a new judge. And if you watch one of my videos, I've sent evidence to a Judge Brown who's going to be overseeing the case that I'm still involved in with my children. And it's sad to say this, that I have no faith, or I don't anticipate in any way that the judge I'm about to face will show the kind of humanity that this judge is showing in this clip. So much so that I'm thinking, is this some kind of, is this a script? Is this some kind of put together scene? Is it fantasy that I'm watching? No, it's not fantasy, it's a reality. And this person is going to prison. This mother is going to prison. Now the sad thing here is this. Nobody really wants to see a mother's children go to prison. But we have to look at this. The devastating effects that it has on the children. Time that will be never regained. And so much damage is done in that time, in the time of so-called alienation. In the alienation days, months, years that happen. So this brings me to something else, which I like to say. Now, there are many people fighting the cause of alienation, and because I'm a bit of a jaded individual in terms of the system, it's very rare for me to actually advocate that somebody take part in stuff like petitions and stuff like that, because as I say, I was locked up and I saw the inner workings of the system, and I saw people on the outside fighting for my freedom, writing to MPs and so forth, and nothing was done. A few individuals came and did a protest outside the prison, which I am very, very grateful for and will always be grateful for, because it gave me hope. And many people contacted me when I was in prison because they knew that it was an unjust system that had imprisoned a father just for fighting for his children. But there's one individual called Sean Buchanan who's spearheading a campaign called Equal Start for both parents to have equal footing in the raising of their children, equal footing in the family court system. So that in a way, this agenda that's being pushed, that men, abusive men, are using the ideology of parental alienation to destroy abused women, can be laid to rest. We have a criminal justice system that is supposed to tackle abusive people, whether those abusive people be men abusing women or women abusing men. Because I'm sure we know in an enlightened era that it works both ways, does it not? Abuse works both ways. And when I say both ways, there should be an addition there, the most primary addition. It works three ways because the children are also abused. So, in an out of character mode, where I'll be telling people not to be involved in the political process, I'm going to give Mr. Buchanan a chance, and I'm going to say this. Align yourself with this petition. The link's going to be left in the description. And I'm also going to leave the link to the story, the article, in the description also, because I think you have to look at the agenda that's being pushed. This anti-father, anti-men agenda that is basically saying that there's no real fathers out there. There's no fathers with love in their heart out there who love children. There's just abusive men who are playing, because up until this article, I've never even heard that parental alienation could be used and it could be the parental alienation card. Never heard of it. So if there is a political solution that is being spearheaded by the individual I've just mentioned, Mr. Buchanan, then go to the link in the bottom and align yourself with the petition. And maybe, just maybe, we can see changes in the system, which are already happening because the parental alienation has been included in the abuse bill, which is in Parliament at the moment, going through. So this is me signing out for another episode of ELAVI Truth TV. I'd also like to just say as well that a lot of things are going on in my life. The family case is going on still. I have no faith that it's going to bring me in contact with my children, but my children are coming into my life very, very, very gradually and very slowly. Why? Because I embody the love of my children, and nothing can change that. And that very love that I embody, not trying to be manipulating and stuff like that, that very love that I embody will draw those children to me like magnets. Yeah? So I'm going to sign off and I'm going to tell you that I've got new videos coming. Sometimes, I'm going to go into this as well maybe in the future, some of my videos are being quite controversial to some people. I've got stories that could be told. But I've got different subjects coming, so stay tuned to ELAVI Truth TV. Signing out. Bye for now.